Hello everyone, we were short on time today and I do want to address the three different types of dependent clauses that are available to you in the English language. And so I just put together this very brief video to give you a little background on that and to make sure I'm not sending you blindly into this exercise. Although I do believe this is probably all a review for you and you've probably seen most of this before. Nonetheless, let's go through it deliberately to make sure that everybody's comfortable with the three different types of dependent clauses. Remember, when we talk about these three different types, these are all subordinate. That means they cannot stand on their own as independent statements. These are dependent clauses or subordinate clauses. They have no meaning unless they latch on to another independent clause. They must have a subject and a verb, but they're incomplete. Okay, so if you keep that in the back of your mind, we know that they cannot be punctuated. They cannot stand alone all by themselves and make a complete thought. And I also want to stress the fact that when you're testing to see if it's a subordinate clause, please don't put a question mark there, because we're not talking about phrasing it with a punctuation mark of a question mark, because that would be something totally different. Okay, so the first type is the adjective clause. Just like any adjective, whether it's a single word or an adjective phrase, these modify nouns and pronouns. They usually follow the word or the words that they're modifying. Sometimes they're set off by commas, but you can always try to look at the first word. The first word in an adjective clause is very often what we call a relative pronoun or a relative adverb. And some examples of those relative pronouns are ones that you've probably seen before. That, which, who or whom, whose, and of course, whoever or whomever. So let's take a look at those three rules and apply them. This is the new video that I like best. Which video is it? The one that I like best. Notice that within here, I have a subject and I have a verb, but I couldn't punctuate it as a complete thought. Griffins, which are mythological beasts, are included on many coats of arms. I have a subject, I have a verb, but it couldn't stand alone. It's telling me which griffins, the ones that are mythological beasts, they're included on many coats of arms. Sometimes you can have a relative adverb introduce an adjective clause, and these relative adverbs are the words when or where. This is the restaurant where we first met. I have a subject, I have a verb, can't stand alone. It's telling me which restaurant, the one where we first met. Please don't worry about this one. When we first met, I liked your attitude. That's not an adjective clause, because I hope that most of you will understand it's telling you when you liked his attitude. I liked your attitude when we first met. So this relative adverb actually introduces an adverb clause. So you just have to be careful and see if the noun next to it is getting further modification before you determine whether or not it's an adjective or adverb clause. Now, an adverb clause, just like a regular old adverb, modifies a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. And they start with what's called subordinating conjunctions. There's a long list of them I'll show you in just a second. Sometimes that first word, that subordinating conjunction, can sometimes masquerade as a preposition. So you want to be careful and make sure that you're looking to see if there's a verb there, which there is. So I have a subject and a verb. After I proofread my paper, I will input the corrections. When am I going to input them? After I proofread the paper. Because crepes are delicious, Joy makes them on special occasions. When does she make them? Why does she make them? Because they're so delicious. When I mentioned to you before the list of subordinating conjunctions, there's so many of them. This is just a chart that can help you out, but you'll start to see a pattern. You'll start to see the same kinds of words every now and then pop up, and you can be alert to them. just be mindful that they're not going to be starting with a relative pronoun, that, which, who, whom, whose, whomever, whoever. So just to review, adjective clauses modify these, they answer these questions, and they start with those kinds of words. And adverb clauses modify these, answer these questions, and are introduced by subordinating conjunctions. Okay, so the last type we have is the noun. And just as we were talking about with a gerund, there are all different kinds of nouns you could have in a sentence. You could have the kind where you answer who or what before the verb and you get your subject. You could have the kind where you ask who or what after the verb and it's an action verb and you get a direct object. And then you ask to whom or for whom and you get your indirect. Or you have a linking verb and you have a noun in the predicate. That would be right there. And if you have an object of a preposition. So noun clauses will take over these functions in a sentence. They could be a subject, a do, an io, a pn, or an o of p. They start, and that's basically what I was talking about on the other page. They start with words like this. And so it gets a little bit dicey because if you notice, a couple of them can also introduce what we did before. And what did we do before? We did adjective clauses or even adverb clauses. So you just have to be careful and look at how it's working in the sentence. Let's take a look at one. What Mary did to rescue the injured bird was brave. This is the main part of the sentence, and all I have is this tiny bit. If I took all this out, what would I have lost? I would have lost the subject of my sentence. That's why it becomes a noun clause. The winner of the race will be, linking verb, whoever's fastest in the final stretch. Predicate nominative, right? Those are the only things that can follow linking verbs. She finally discovered, action verb, discovered what? What the answer to our question was, right? Direct object here. The trophy will be awarded to, a ling, ding, 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 preposition, object of the preposition, whoever finishes first. But just be sure you're taking a look at these first words. These can also introduce adjective clauses, so you just have to make sure you know what it's doing in the sentence. Give whatever parts need cleaning a rinse. Give a rinse, to whom, for whom, to whatever parts need cleaning. Obviously understood you as the subject. So those are the three types. I've assigned a couple of worksheets that you'll look at tonight, and then hopefully tomorrow you can bring in your questions. Thank you, and good luck.